What they're going to do is they're going to go to something called AB block scheduling or alternate scheduling. They've got 8 classes and they'll be 90 minutes long. So what happens is on Monday, that's your A day, you've got English, math, biology, Spanish, 4 classes, 90 minutes long. Wednesday A, Thursday B, Friday A. Come Monday, you're back on the B schedule. They say that it's necessary, and it is a change that is going to happen whether the students like it or not. And also the middle schools that are using this AB scheduling are Clark and Sanchez, and come this fall, the district reiterates Montwood High School will also be on this schedule.
I think the first time that we really became aware of this was like in November of 2004. And we started getting calls saying, you know, it's going to be 2 years in January and we have to get the case filed, and the police broke up this student demonstration. They were trying to protest and they had permission to school, and the police came. All of the police on duty that day in El Paso showed up and they beat up the students and suppressed their protest.
More than 100 units from the El Paso Police Department, the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Sheriff's Department, and Socorro Independent School District responded to control more than 1,000 students. 7 juveniles were detained and 6 adults were arrested, including 1 teacher.
I was over there just coming to make sure the students were okay, and this man pushed me.
I was pretty much lead counsel. I mean, I organized it because nobody would take it in El Paso at that point. No attorney would touch the case. Well, first of all, because the courts are so bad, the police cases are extremely hard to win. They're extremely hard to win because the judges constantly create more doctrines to give cops more protection, more immunity. Number one.
Just to the right.
Number two is that the majority community, and I'm talking now basically in terms of class, will always tolerate a low level of violence against the minority economic community. They know there's a certain level of brutality that goes on, but they'll accept it unless it crosses the boundary into the middle class, and then that's not acceptable. That means, therefore, that juries are not very sympathetic to police cases. Kids that organize this protest and organize this demonstration. And of course, being good organizers, they had called the press ahead of time, and the press is out there, you know, filming and all that. And of course, then the police show up and start beating the kids up and pepper spraying them and chasing them through the schools, clubbing them, hitting girls who are pregnant, all that kind of really bad stuff, terrible stuff.
Some suffered bruises and others were seen bleeding. In one notable case, a student was on the ground, detained by police, and eyewitnesses claim officers were still hitting him when a teacher stepped in.
The cops were hitting him with a baton, and after they had already taken control of the situation, he was already on the floor and they were still hitting him. And Mr. Braxton was trying to get them away from the student, and that's when the cops got him and arrested him.
If there are complaints out there, I certainly want to hear about them, and that's why we have our internal affairs office set up. And if we did something wrong, of course we're going to investigate it.
El Paso has actually had a very large number of complaints about police brutality and misconduct, and some very grotesque physical abuse that's gone on. Really, really bad stuff of people stopped by the police. But the real purpose of the suit was structural change. It doesn't do any good in the long term to win a case and get just money for it. You've got to make changes. This is going to keep happening. This is going to keep repeating itself. And so while we focused on the individuals, the big thing was what was the policy of the city? Training, discipline. When you get to protests, why is it when you react to this protest? There's a peaceful protest. The kids are laughing. They got the teachers outside. The principals are outside. Why is it the cops decide that they have to arrive on the scene and bust up the protest? Doesn't make any sense. But it makes sense if you look at their training. They have no idea what to do, no procedures. And there's really no unified discipline process in El Paso, which counted for part of this happening.
The case of the Crawford Five started in 2003 in May. There was a big protest, multi-issue protest rally here in Austin. At the same time, we found out that President Bush was going to be in Crawford visiting with the Prime Minister of Australia. So we thought we'd take advantage of that and take our issues directly to his ranch.
I was part of a group called APLC, Austin People's Legal Collective. 4
of us went up to Crawford to sort of just stand by and observe, and we're supposed to be impartial observers just to make sure that no one's civil liberties are being breached. And also, when people do get arrested, we're set up to find out who they are, where they're being taken, what the charge is, so we can help expedite their time in jail and get them out more quickly.
They never got the chance to make it there because the police set up barriers. The folks weren't able to drive out there, so they started walking out, carrying all their signs. And that's when the police told them that they had 3 minutes to get back in their car, pursuant to a no protest statute.
3 minutes to get back to your car, please. You have 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Okay. We wanted to just leave these pictures here. Let's leave the pictures here. Want to leave the pictures?
If you leave the pictures here, you'll be littering and you'll be arrested for littering.
Well, let's leave them alone. Is there anything? Can we go on the sidewalk? Is there anything we can do? I mean, we just want to bring a message to the president. That's all.
Protest in the city limits of Crawford.
But what about our First Amendment rights?
We had no intention of protesting or parading in town. The whole idea was going outside of town, and they prevented us from doing that.
Are you going to arrest the president? You have 1 minute to get back to your cars.
You will arrest the president?
It was sort of just, it happened so quickly, and no one was really prepared for it to happen, and we couldn't believe they started arresting ourselves as legal observers either, and we were just asking why this woman was being arrested. So.
No, she's a legal observer!
She's a legal observer! Give me the pad.
Give me the pad. Realize in this whole process that this is just a violation of the parade ordinance. This was not a major infraction. This was a Class C misdemeanor. You know, a ticket could have been written for and go on your way. But instead of that, they felt that they needed to make a statement. The ordinance already limited people to protest in the stadium in Crawford, in the football stadium. If you're going to come and protest, if you're going to do that, our streets are off limits. You know, our sidewalks are off limit, but you can come we can corral you into the stadium and you can have your event there.
A no protest statute is absolutely a violation of the First Amendment. And in this day and age, this is the sort of battleground where our rights are saved or where they're lost. And while in the grand scheme of things, whether or not 5 people were arrested in a small town and had to spend a night in jail may not seem important, it's really symbolic. It creates a real example for how the battle is going to play out in the rest of the state and in the rest of the country.
It was only a Class C misdemeanor, so I think it was like a $500 charge, and we could have actually paid $300 that night. But we all knew that we were arrested unjustly and really wanted to stand up against this no protest ordinance. So once I took it to Jim, we were arrested on a Saturday. I went and visited with Jim on a Tuesday, and he decided to help us out that day.
And she emailed us and called us, and she was excited. Jim Harrington's going to take the case, and we didn't expect that. We knew that our rights had been violated. A number of our friends said, you need to pursue this. But we had no idea that the Texas Civil Rights Project would take it on. And so we were very excited. So they contacted us, and we knew that we actually had a chance. We knew that there was someone that was really came down on the right, what we believe was the right side of the issue, that was really there to protect people's civil rights. And he'd done it for years and years and years. And this person was going to represent us.
And it was just such a great process. Everyone at TCRP was so cool about involving us, and we felt really like we were part of the defense too, and got to do planning sessions and like get things together. I also thought it was just a really important case too. It felt really good to be a part of something, even though it was accidental on our part getting arrested. It felt really good to be a part of something that was challenging these sort of no protest zones that are seemingly set up around the country these days, and especially since 9/11. And it just felt really good to challenge that, especially in Crawford, Texas.
The arrests were in the statute itself, the no protest statute, were ruled unconstitutional. That seems pretty clear. I think more importantly, it sends a message out there to those who want to stop free speech or stifle it, that we have time-tested rights and liberties in this country that make us Americans. And even if they're inconvenient, even if they're unpopular, even if they get on people's nerves, that's what makes us Americans, and those rights have to be respected.
This office, in the cases that we handle, is different from some other public interest organizations and different from the Austin office, because nearly everything that we get still comes from either the colonias or a family that is a generation from having lived in the colonias. Colonial life is a distinct and different kind of life than any other kind in this state, possibly in the country. And usually when you move into a subdevelopment or a new neighborhood, there's fire hydrants, there's sidewalks, there's maybe even a tree or two, water faucets, and gas and electric. All of that's there. None of that's there when you move into a colonia.
Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estamos? Ahora te doy la vuelta. Órale. All these are stick-at homes. Like these folks here, they might have gone up north. They might have just gotten ready for the hurricane time. But look at even though it's paved, you see how there's nothing on the side for the water to go? So they will all be sitting in water, okay?
A big part of what I do is to help with our undocumented women who are abused by their either citizen or lawful permanent resident husband. And because of what we do, we're able, through the Violence Against Women Act, we can help these women get their papers so that they're here legally.
I think this is one of the most important things that we do. You just don't think that kind of abuse is going on. I'm talking about really almost like torture, not letting some of the victims, not letting them sleep as part of what they do, because some of the abusers are so drugged up that they're awake at 3, 4 in the morning, bothering them. If it's not by hitting them, it's forcing them to do things they don't want to do. It's getting them up waking them up by kicking them or by pulling their hair and demanding for them to cook at that time, wee hours of the morning. And a couple hours later, they might pass out because their drug effect has left them, or maybe the alcohol has kicked in. But then the women, they have to be up and perky because they got to wake up the kids, get them ready for school, get them their breakfast, get them to the bus stop, or take them maybe even walking to the local school.
Me echaba para afuera, pero sabía que no me iba a ir, porque ¿a dónde me iba a ir? ¿Y cómo? No teníamos teléfono, no tenía nada. Aparte, si no, me ponía la navaja y me decía, si te vas, te voy a matar. A fuerzas abusaba de mí sexualmente, psicológicamente, que no valía nada, me amenazaba que nomás con una peseta en el teléfono público te echo migración de volada y te llevan.
Once she was able to work, started her own business, opened her own restaurant, and you can just see her blossom and that she's so capable and determined, and yet all that had been pushed down during her years with her abuser. And now she has her own catering business, she substitutes at a school, and it is amazing.
Pero gracias a que, que encontré la oficina legal y principalmente a ti, a Jaime, que estoy muy orgullosa de ahora que es mi amigo, ¿verdad? Estoy muy orgullosa de él.
The most rewarding thing about this case is when the victim, who used to be a victim of domestic violence, who is now a survivor, now, I've said it like this in Spanish, now they can spread their wings, now they can really fly, because now they have the document to allow them to do this, which is a work authorization card or a lawful permanent residency card. And you see happiness in their face, because now all of a sudden their hair changes. Now now they can afford to go get their hair done. Now they can afford, because they're working and they're moving along in life. Now they can go and get makeup that they wanted to wear. Maybe the husband would not give them any money, to maybe do this. So, but I think the happiness, because when they are happy, the children are happy. And I think that's just the awesome point.
Pues lo mismo, que gracias a la oficina legal, que me ayudó bastante, y que qué bueno que continúe esta labor de ustedes, ¿verdad? Porque está muy bonita, y gracias a todos por eso, cuanto me hablen y cuanto necesiten y cuantas veces me llamen, yo siempre estoy aquí para que lo que quieran, ¿verdad? Yo les pueda ayudar.
From the other organizations, including us, that do this kind of cases, I think if we're doing 10 to 15% of the actual victims in reference to immigrant women, I think that probably would be a high number. I think the other ones are still in the shadows. They're either scared to come out, they believe the abuser that they will get deported. It's like I told you before, you report me, I deport you. My dream would be that we're not doing those cases anymore because there's no more violence. But that's not true. The truth of the matter is that I hope that we keep doing these until they're not needed.
Two 47 requested 50. 47.
As we was exiting the club, there was about 100, 150 people outside of the club surrounded, just talking, having a good time. And me and one of my friends happened to see two young men getting into a little horse playing type situation, and at the corner of my eye, looking towards the right, I seen an officer walking down the street. He walked right past me. By the time he got to the two gentlemen that was horse playing, they had already dispersed into the crowd. So he went through the crowd looking for him. He found him. When he found him, he grabbed hold to him very aggressively, jacked him up off his feet and pushed him and told him they need to go home. And I'm witnessing all this, and I'm talking to my friend, that you see what just happened, because what just happened, I didn't find that it was justified.
But then Jeff just says something to his friend, the cop hears it, takes him over to the car, beats him up, and then lies about it.
We both raised up, and he started to pat me down, so, I tell my friend, well, y'all know, just call my moms, let them know what's going on. So the next thing I know, I get slammed on the car again. And at this time, I get slammed with so much force that I slid down the hood of the car and I bounced on my feet. So I was like, well, you know what, better yet, call my uncle, because he's an APD officer. I want to let him know what his fellow officers are doing to me, and it's not justified. And once I said that, all I felt was my head hit the concrete, and everything was black.
If Jeffrey had not had an uncle in the police department, this whole case would have been entirely different. And that's the scary thing about this, is that how much deference is given to the police. Because he had his uncle in the police department, his uncle made sure there was an internal affairs investigation, got a crackerjack investigator. She went out, and it dawned on her that even though the police videos were actually off, the lottery video was on. And you look at the lottery video and you can see everything. Everything that Jeff said was true, and everything the cop said was wrong.
If I would never got legal support, no telling what would have happened. I probably would have been indicted. probably been on probation, paying legal fees, paying all kind of dues that wasn't justified. But once I got that legal support from Jim and the rest of them at the Texas Civil Rights Commission, it was just like, I mean, they done my fighting for me. They worked extremely hard on my case. I felt like I was the only case that they had, you know, because they was calling me every other day, you know, and it made me feel like I finally got somebody that's working on my side, you know, that's want to stand up for my rights.
If this case is an inspiration to somebody else to speak out or to organize or to have a different understanding of politics or community, then it's worth it.
I'm not the only one probably think the justice system doesn't work, but I guarantee you this, I'll speak out about it, you know. So, like I said, it's not like I just woke up one morning and said, well, hey, this is how I feel. No, I knew when I went off in there, it just felt like a whole nother family. You know, I would go in and talk to Jim, and once I'm walking out, everybody speak to me, invite me in their office, we'd talk. You know, I mean, it was just like family. You know, and then for them to work extremely hard the way that they did on my case, I mean, I have all the respect in the world for them. You know, and if they call me and they need me to do anything, you know, I mean, it's without hesitation, I would do it.
We do move, we do make history, and we do improve. And that's why it's important that we who are doing this now do it for those who come after us, because I'm benefiting, we all are benefiting from those who went before us and the fights that they made.